Okay.
All right. What's going on, people? It's your boy, you know who it is, Ray the Engineer, and this is Real Life Chronicles. Now, I got the privilege to sit down today with definitely an OG, somebody who made a lot of moves in his day, you know, and still making moves today. He's been through adversity. He's been through a lot of different ups and downs in his life, and he's here to tell you about it. You know, I'm here with Craig Scott. Mr. Craig Scott, how you doing, brother?
Oh, man, I'm doing all right, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. So yeah, man, tell me a little bit about your background for those that don't know. I did a little bit of research, man. I heard a little birdie told me that you're from Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah, I'm from B-More, born and raised.
Okay. That's dope, man, because I'm from Maryland too.
Okay, what part?
Okay, so I was born in PG County in a spot called Cheverly, but I moved across my family moved us across the Bay Bridge to a spot called Cambridge.
Okay.
Cambridge, Maryland, out there by Salisbury and Ocean City and all that.
Oh, okay. Then you was in a good spot. Yeah.
Oh man, listen, but look, that's the misconception, because it's actually raw out there. It's actually kind of raw out there for real. It's not Baltimore City, but it's crazy. Right. But I ended up moving to Baltimore when I was 18. And I stayed off of Wilkins Avenue and Pulaski Street, North Avenue and Pulaski.
Okay, so that's West
Side, right? Yeah, West Baltimore. Yeah, I spent a lot of time.
That was when I was growing up. Families moving all over the place. So I've been in Cherry Hill, East Side, West Side. The West Side was the last area that I was in before I was incarcerated.
Okay. Now let's talk about a little bit of your upbringing. How was it growing up in Baltimore City for you?
It was, it was rough. I didn't know a way to put it. Right. When I was first born, my mom, she was, single parent, but eventually she would marry. She married. This was her second husband, and by my two youngest siblings. And from that point, things got a little bit more, stable, as far as at least having a father figure, in my home. But Dad was kind of what I call a weekend alcoholic. So that would ill affect the finances. So we would end up having to move around a lot. So that's why I was telling you, I've lived in Cherry Hill, I've lived in the east side of Baltimore, west side of Baltimore, because we basically, ducking the rent collectors and the bill collectors and all that, sort of stuff. Right. So I had to, experience a lot of, bouts of poverty and, growing up. And that wound up being, causing a lot of problems with me as far as going to school. Because, I don't know about you, but back then, going to Baltimore City public schools, you had to go to school, dress a certain way. And if you didn't have them clothes and the gear, oh my God, well, you was going to, experience hell. So,
right.
You know what I mean? So middle school was really like the worst of the worst. And I was basically on the brink of, quitting, dropping out of school. But as fortune would have it, some things that occurred, and I ended up staying in school. But coming up was rough, yeah.
Right. Now that rough upbringing sparked your hustler mentality.
I mean, that's interesting, because I guess the hustling mentality wouldn't start until I got, older, because I wouldn't really start, getting on that other side of life or that other side of the track until I got kicked out of Boston University. I actually went to, I was accepted into a university for theater, for acting. Right. But I became politically active while I was on campus. And the administration didn't like that.
Oh, wow.
We were, I was heading up rallies and protests about apartheid in South Africa. We were trying to get the university to divest in their investment in the South African government. This is during the time of Mandela. Mandela was in prison because of his militant political activism. So we were doing that. I was bringing, helping to bring like revolutionary leaders to the campus, like Bobby Seale and Kwame Ture, who was formerly known as Stokely Carmichael. We also had matter of fact, we had the ambassador of the ANC to the United States. He was, we were bringing him to campus. So we were doing a whole lot as far as the activism. And, the administration just didn't like that. So they would call me into the office and sat me down and basically say, listen, that scholarship money, it's not going to be available for the next semester. And that was it. My grades were great. I was at least one of the best students in the theater department, but my, the activities and it was just too much for me. That was,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that had to be like a discouraging point.
Oh yeah, no question. Matter of fact, once they did that, because of my financial situation, I couldn't just get on a train and go back home. You follow? So I had to wait for a while to kind of, scrounge up the money in order to get home. So now I can't work on the campus, so I can't get a job. So I'm literally back to square one, like, experiencing that same sort of poverty that I had to go through when I was a kid. Right. So I'm going into the stores, shoplifting candy bars, and I think I remember chocolate chip cookies. These are little things I could snatch, and I had to try to eat and survive off of that. So it got real rough, real rough.
I can only imagine that coming from inner city Baltimore, which is still one of the most dangerous cities in the United States.
Yeah,
and actually making it out to go to college just to be told that the scholarship is done. That has to make you look at yourself like, hold up, I can't go back there. I got to get this by any means necessary. You feel what I'm saying? Exactly. Now I consider you like a modern day Robin Hood in a sense, right? Yeah. Because I'm gonna let you expound on that, but the things that you did, but the things that you did to get money, you actually fed it back into different like legitimate situations and helped a lot of people. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like what is it? What did you actually do?
Well, when I would eventually get back to Baltimore, I had already kind of been turned out on Malcolm X, and I got turned out on Malcolm X by reading his book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X. And that was like a profound experience. This was the first time I ever read a book literally from cover to cover. I mean, I'm reading every page, the epilogue, the prologue, everything. I'm just getting, turned out on that. So when I get back to Baltimore, another book I come across is the autobiography of Assata Shakur. Now, Assata Shakur is the sister who was a part of what they call the Black Liberation Army. And this was a very militant, organization. And one of the tactics that they would use is they would rob white banks and use that money to finance their political operations. So I would end up emulating that same model. So I would put together a group, basically we call them a cell, of like-minded brothers, who were basically on the same sort of thing that I was. And that's what we would do. We would rob white-owned institutions, get that money, deposit it in the Black-owned bank in the city, and use that money to run an entertainment company that we had called IC Entertainment. We also used those funds to put on Black conscious plays and cultural events, African dance shows. We would bring in jazz musicians. We would do things that were basically designed in order to elevate the consciousness of our community. But we would use the money that we got, what they call reappropriations, that we reappropriated from these banks in order to finance all this stuff. Yeah. Right. Yeah, in other words, we weren't spending it on gold and necklaces and cars and all that sort of stuff. No, that wasn't what we were, what we were about. Yeah.
Right. So that first, for lack of better words, that first lick that you hit. Right? Yeah. What was the feeling like? What did you feel when you first ran up in that bank, man?
Before you go in, all you know, you your guts are bubbling, 100 things are running through your mind about what could go wrong. It's just a lot of fear, a lot of fear, a lot of nervousness, what have you. But once you've already made the commitment, we train, we rehearsed, it's going to happen. So there was, matter of fact, there was a little phrase that I would say to myself right before, I was about to make that move. And I said, no better time than the present. And, it was time to move out. And, you open that door and you go in and it's on, what I mean? It was almost like a sort of performance, because that was my background in acting and theater, whatever. And I guess that's kind of how I would think of it. And so that's, but once it was on, once I, got through the bank doors, all the nervousness and all of that was gone. It was, it was time to rock. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
was there any resistance from like your partners at that time? Like when the money started coming in, did you start seeing like people change?
Listen, the brothers, like I said, the brothers that I was functioning with, these were conscious brothers. You know what I mean? They were on the same pro-Black, positive, sort of stuff that that I was. It wouldn't be until later on that we would find out that one of them was basically a agent, that we had been infiltrated, by this particular brother. But for the most part, the other brothers that were in the crew, that was, money was never a problem. That nothing, that never was a beef. That was never anything that we had any issue, because like nobody was on that. Like I didn't have any comrades who were, now I want to buy the Benz. I'm trying to get that Rollie. We just didn't have that in our crew. So no, that was never a thing. Everybody was on. We want to do something positive. We want to hire our people in the community. We want, So no, I didn't really have that problem.
How long was y'all run?
Well, together, because I had a run prior to that. So, but when we put the major cell together, I guess about 2 years.
Okay.
For about 2 years, we were operating together. Yeah.
Okay. Now you said that there was one guy that ended up being an agent and kind of infiltrated you guys. Now was he like a part of the crew from the beginning, or did he just come along?
No, not right. Because what happened was we wanted to carry out a bigger operation. So like the other operations, because of the number of people, we were basically almost only just focusing on the tellers and getting the money from there. Now we wanted to get the whole thing. We wanted to get in the vault. We wanted and the tellers, the whole 9 yards. So we needed more people. And when we went to incorporate some other folks, one of the people that we incorporated ended up, we were later on find out later on that he was working with them folks. Yeah.
Oh wow. And look, the way I think and the way my mind moves, I feel like that was kind of like too good to be true. Like I don't believe in coincidences, so I think they was probably on y'all for a minute.
Well, and I think how they say, like, they had their suspicions, but they couldn't prove anything. Follow. And the issue was, this was someone that one of us knew, but he had been gone for some time. So we didn't know, you follow me? The story was he had joined the military, all that sort of thing. And so kind of like pops back up. But I personally didn't know him as far as in the past. So that was, that wound up being an opportunity for them to kind of, put somebody in there that would be able to say, oh yeah, this happened and that happened. But prior to that, it would have been all just speculation.
So what they end up charging you with, man?
They end up charging us with conspiracy to rob banks to finance an entertainment company. And when because one of the operations, we wound up, we were caught on that, but they only had that one bank robbery. That was it. But the guy who was the agent, he then turned around and told them about the other operations that they didn't know about. So this is why the indictment would end up going from a 1 count to 7. I think it was 7. Yeah, there was 7 counts.
How long were you down for?
I would end up doing 26 years. I was arrested in 1994, and I was released in May of 2020. So it was 26 years. But the original sentence was 52 years.
Wow.
52 years, first time offender, not a shot fired, not a scratch on anybody, none of that. But because of the political activity we were involved in, they sought to pursue prosecution under this crazy ass law that they had at the time called 924C, use of a firearm in the commission of a crime of violence. And they could basically, with multiple offenses, they could what they call stack your sentence. And that means that you would have to serve one sentence, then you have to serve the next sentence. And you follow what I'm saying? Instead of it being served all at one time, which was usually the case in bank robbery cases. But once, when the white boys were doing it, they could have 4 or 5 robberies and they served the time for all of them at one time. Yeah. But once the brothers and the blacks and the Latinos started getting involved, now they come up with a whole different rule. You follow me? And we got caught up in that. Yeah.
So being tied up in the, I guess you should say the prison system, right? Were you kind of revered in there, or like what was the atmosphere like in there? Like with people knowing what you did and the reasoning behind it.
Well, I think because I stayed on that same sort of Black militancy, Black consciousness type of vibe, that's what they were, that's what people would respond to me with, you know what I mean? Okay. Everywhere I went, I became Brother Craig, you know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah. The good brother, all that sort of thing, you know what I mean? Right. And but that came from just how I was functioning, how I was operating. And I was operating the way I was operating inside the prison system because I had a chance to meet a brother. This was he was a Black Native American. And he had been to prison on bank robbery charges and served a lot of time. And he gave me some sound advice. And he told me, because I was the first time coming through in city jail, the jungle that was. he told me, he said, listen, you come to prison, you can either become a better criminal, because there's people in here to teach you how to be, a better criminal, or you can make this your university. And I decided to make it my university. You know what I mean? So that was my attitude, and that my thing was study, learn, teach as I learn, you know what I mean, and go from there. And the brothers in there, that's what they, that's where I got my respect for, because I stayed in my lane. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to play the super thug, all that sort of thing, super killer, all of that. But I was, I was always on my revolutionary Black militant thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So that's where I got my my respect from. Yeah.
So was prison where you began writing your screenplays and different things?
Well, actually, the screenplay was based on a play that I had already written prior to being arrested. The play that I wrote was called "Can a Nigger Do Shakespeare?" And it was a one-man, one-act play, basically about breaking up the stereotype that Black actors weren't intellectually capable of performing high elevated text like Shakespeare. And also I'm incorporating, Black history and that, that pro-Black agenda and all that sort of thing in the play. Right. So that's where it was originally a play. It wasn't until I got out that I was inspired to, I'm going to turn this play into a film, into a movie. So the movie that I'm working on right now and producing is called by the same title, Can a Nigger Do Shakespeare? But it's a movie now. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's a movie, but I'm sure it's going to be more than just one act and one person.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
Be a full cast.
It's like an hour and 20 minutes long now.
Oh man, that's what's up. That is what's up. What's the projected date on that, man? When can we check that out?
Yeah. Right. As a matter of fact, earlier today, I was just sitting with my director of photography, who's doing, helping with the editing. And I believe we're going into like our third draft of our edit. And what we're hoping is that by the beginning of March, we're going to start releasing the trailers and the clips for it. because what we're with the plan is to have this movie shown on a major streaming platform. We're trying to get Stars, HBO, you know, one of them, Netflix to show the film. So that's dope. Yeah. So we're using the clips in the trailer in order to generate the buzz about the film, so that we can sit down with those companies and say, listen, if people want to see this, you need to put this on your streaming service. So that's what we're shooting for.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you could look back on your life, right, with the 26 years in prison and everything that you've been through, you know, even up to now, is there anything you would have done differently?
I mean, a part of me would like to say, of course, I would like to have done something different where I wouldn't have to serve 26 years in prison and be away from my family and, you know, basically destroy my marriage. I was married. I had 2 kids. So I ended up sacrificing, you know, all of that. So there's a part of me that wish I could say, you know, I didn't have to go through all of that. But from where I am now, the person that I am now, everything that I'm doing now, I can't take any of that back, because all of those things were necessary to make me, you know, who and what I am. So, you know, at the end of the day, no, listen, I had to go through what I went through, and I wouldn't change it for the world. You know what I mean? It's, you know, it's a hard thing to have to live through, but, you know, it made me who I am, and I wouldn't want to be anybody else. Because I would have never thought I had that kind of, I would have never thought I had that kind of strength, that I would develop this kind of wisdom, you know, and without that pressure, none of that would have ever came out.
I have a question. I'm kind of intrigued, man. What other revolutionaries are you into? Because I'm a really big Assata Shakur, like, I don't want to say follower, right? But she is definitely a role model to me. Just the whole fact that they stuck her in a male prison, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, brother, they
broke her out, bro. You know what I mean? And then she went to Cuba, and she's still there. You know what I'm saying?
Still there.
Castro was like, nah, y'all can't have it.
You'll hear them trying to, you know, we want to extradite it, we want it back. And I want to say this about that whole, you know, thing, right? That's going back to what happened in South Africa. When Mandela got out, in order to resolve this issue about all of the killings and the horrors that went on, you know, during that time, to resolve that, he had what they call a truth commission. And his thing was this: I can justify telling my people to forgive y'all if y'all would at least admit out in the open and in public, this is what the hell you did. Okay. So he tried to, you know, he used that in order to kind of quell the bitterness and all that sort of thing. The problem with what's going on here with Assata Shakur and with just that whole period of time, the American government wants to hold Assata Shakur responsible, but you're not bringing none of those cops up. You're not bringing none of the FBI agents up who carried out illegal assassinations of these activists. You don't want them to be answerable to any of the unethical and illegal activity they did, but you want her to answer for what you're saying that she did. You follow? So that's why, like, listen, leave the how does they say? Let the lion dogs lie. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Leave that alone. You follow what I'm saying? Because you don't want to bring yours, you don't want to hold yours responsible, so don't hold ours responsible. Let's not act like we don't know we were almost in a damn near war going on in the 60s and the 70s. You follow? So, you know, I mean, so that's my position on that, is that if we, you know, if we want to pull the revolutionaries up, listen, we got to pull these rogue, you know, exactly. If you want to call rogue officers and FBI agents up, but you're not willing to do that. So let it alone. Let it, you know, let that go.
I can dig it. I can definitely dig it, man. So as we conclude this interview, man, I want you to let the people know what you got going on. We already talked about, you know, can a nigga do Shakespeare? You know what I'm saying? Let the people know where they can find you, man, and how they can reach out.
I'm on Instagram CANDS. Hopefully, because that's why I put that in the title on my name. And there you can follow the progression of the film. You can also follow, the things that I'm doing, behind the scenes. Because we all, I'm still on the same thing, man. I'm keeping up with all of the issues that are affecting our community, giving my, 2 cents and opinions about it. So you can find that on Instagram as well. And, follow me. And you'll see when the film is ready and as we, as we progress. So yeah, I would, just check me out on Instagram, CANDS, _ in between each letters. It's right there.
Cool. And one last thing before you leave, if you can give some advice to these youngins out here that may be thinking about following in your footsteps and doing the things that you did, because some of these cats, they look at this like, okay, it might be the cool thing to do. You know what I mean? But give them some advice, man.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, man. Listen, first and foremost, if you're talking about robbing a bank just for you to go, balling, please don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not worth it. Like, you're not doing it for anything really beneficial to your people, your family, or your community. So don't mess with it at all. But my main piece of advice, which I always give, is learn to discipline your emotions. That emotional discipline is what I lacked. And that's what caused me to make a lot of bad decisions, even in what I was doing. You know what I mean? I probably would have been able to do it even better if I was more mature with my emotions and my feelings. A lot of our brothers they're getting into beefs, they're getting killed and killing just off of their feelings. Something that somebody said, something somebody did, and you done got emotional, and now you think you got to go and pick up a pistol and shoot somebody over. Dudes, they get in a fist fight, you lose a fight, and because your feelings are involved, now you going out thinking you got to shoot somebody. Listen, chill out. Take some time and learn how to discipline yourself, man. I'm talking about on an emotional level. Right. Because as much as we don't like to admit it, anger is an emotion. We say, oh, the women are emotional. No, bro, every time you get upset, you being emotional too. You follow what I'm saying? Absolutely. So that's my thing, is that, control your emotions, man. Work on that. And that's self-mastery. That's the main piece of advice that I would leave.
All right, brother Scott, it was a pleasure talking to you. And that's what we got, man. We got brother Scott, brother Craig Scott, Can a Nigger do Shakespeare? Check that out when it drop. I'm gonna definitely help promote that as well, man. And you have a wonderful night, man. And this is Real Life Chronicles. Great engineer.
Peace.